Welcome back to the series of authenticity and inclusivity, where we did about 10 weeks of a new series based on personality traits, and we talk about saboteurs, where the voices in our head, how they kind of hijack us and play against us. And now we are moving from that so-called negativity into our positivity, that we talk about the sage power and perspective, and all these are based on positive intelligent concept. And of course, the personality trait is based on these, which we all are quite familiar. And hi, and welcome. I'm Aries. I'm your host, and of course, I have my wonderful guest, Lucy, have been doing this with me patiently, and I know we were missing in action. MIA last week. There was some funny problem. I don't know whether anyone noticed that my LinkedIn live cannot be shut down, and so I'm not allowed to go live until that kind of properly shut down. So which happened. So I'm glad, and thank you for LinkedIn for taking up this unexpected challenge, a technical glitch apparently. So back to our conversation. I like to have this example: the fork and the road. It's just like our brain. There's two parts, right? So that the negativity is a very instinctive of us to kind of our thinking, our feelings, the thoughts that we have, that we always go around there. So now we're going to talk about how can we move away from the default way of doing into a new way, like kind of reframing. And when we do that, what happened? Because we know that the saboteur, that we call it, the hijacker, has always been okay, we don't say the bad part, but it's the good part. They've all been helping us to cope and manage our relationship well-being, especially career, I think, performance. But they all came from that stress. So we want to keep that good part of that and move into even a better part. That means that we continue to perform, we improve our well-being and our relationship, but with a little bit of kind of focus and calm and peace without that stress and anxiety. And so today, we're going to start off with explore power.
Yay, to exploring. The explore power. Thank you, Aris. And I would maybe add, why is it that our brains always go into, as a default, as you mentioned, on the fork on the road, kind of into the negative? And really like the survival function of generations, looking for the danger so we can avoid the danger. However, if we look for the danger all the time, then that's when we get into the trouble. So this function actually helps us survive physically, but doesn't help us thrive long term. And the costs are actually high: emotional, relationships, even performance costs. It can get us somewhere, but then we can actually burn out as a result of pushing constantly. Or when we push people, we damage the relationships. So they're high costs. And luckily, they are the other paths, and one of them, the explore. So how should we explore our explore power?
Like the one, explore power. When we first started, we talked about the tree perspective, how building on that. Okay, before we go into that, I just want to illustrate that whatever saboteur you have is really come from that inner your being, your strength. So that relate a lot to your personality. But the sage is also in us. I would say the fork in the road is also in us. But that is probably less personality kind of traits obvious in a sense. But it's something that we all can tap in if we kind of take notes and practice that. Lucy, your favorite word, pause. I would like to say
pause and reflect.
I think maybe the word that I would like to use is maybe attention, is noticing what is happening. And then you notice that you do have that power. So we talk about empathy power, the compassion for yourself and compassion for others. My client used the word kindness. When we have the kindness for ourselves, we have the kindness for others, something is different that's going on. That stress and anxiety kind of come down. And instead of beating yourself, you're able to say, it's okay, you know. The explore power is it's kind of a deep, very deep curiosity. Like to say is a bit different from what we always think, right? Because we always think about, you see, whenever we want to explore something, we have an agenda, we have a purpose, we have a goal and expectation. So this explore power doesn't have that agenda or expectation or goal. It's just a pure fascinated. What's that all about? So it's just a fascination and want to discover, and that comes without agenda, that comes without fear, like a child. A child is very curious, and you ask a child, what do you want to know? The child probably look at you, is like, huh, why do you want to know? I just want to know. So it's not with agenda, purpose, expectation, but with that deep curiosity and that curiosity of a child. And I thought that I would like to start with that, explore, and maybe we should both model that, the curiosity of a child, and be curious.
I guess we can be curious about what's different about curiosity of a child versus curiosity of an adult. And what's different in that curiosity? What comes up for you, Aries? What could be different about that curiosity?
I love what you say, the curiosity between a child and an adult. I think what come up for me is a child curiosity is just innate. It's like they just want to know. It's like everything around there. You know, when you look at a newborn baby, right? They don't see things in color, they see things in black and white.
Oh.
And then they learn to see, that's why when the first thing you give them is black and white, and then gradually is color. They can't see colors, not at the beginning.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Look at them.
Yeah,
Me learning. You know,
I mean, not like a few months later, I can't remember how long, but initial state, they can't see colors. It's only black and white. But you will, a child, a baby is very curious. Everything is interesting. Literally everything. And sometimes they're like, oh, don't touch that, it's dangerous. You go near the fire, it's dangerous. So they don't even know what is danger. Their mind's like, everything is fascinating. But I think as now, I mentioned earlier, our curiosity comes with agenda. It's like, okay, I want to explore that. Actually, the reason to explore that is because I want to have this. This is the outcome I want. So I'm exploring because I have a goal in mind. This is what I'm doing. So I'm exploring. But a child probably don't have that agenda, don't have an outcome. It's just simply curious. That's what I would say.
Thank you. So I'm hearing the distinction between curiosity of a child, adult is the lack of kind of an agenda for the child. So child is purely really open to learn anything in a way. So for me, I would make a distinction as the child learns about the dangers of the world. I think it starts making assumption about things. Oh, this is dangerous. This is dangerous. And part of our brain is just like this master saboteurs become stronger, the judge. So for me, this distinction would be in us adults, the judge is usually stronger. So we create biases and we stop in a way in some situations being curious because we think we already know the answer to that. And so and even with people, I mean, we may love the most, that we think we know the most, it could be actually dangerous to stop being curious with them because we really stop hearing and listening to them. And I would apply it also in leadership positions, that actually for a leader to stop being curious can be also very dangerous for their performance and performance of the team and the team morale. when we really have, when we are asking questions. So kind of it comes curiosity with asking questions. But when we are asking questions from the judging perspective, the judge is asking the questions instead of a truly curious person and open. What comes up for you, Aries? I see you're laughing.
I cannot help it, but this word, something like you say, is like judging versus discernment. Just came up for me the more you say that. Is it's very natural for us to judge. And I remember I think I mentioned a few times, I attended this webinar, was very interesting. You see that as a human being with a brain, that means that we all have a brain, unless you don't have a brain. Biasness is a instinct thing that we all have. And the biasness is not about good or bad. It's really about, because we human being is such an intelligent species, unfortunately or fortunately, we are so intelligent. And whenever we see something, we straight away go in, the brain will like, okay, let me see what is that. It's a fast forward and fast track thing. So you have biasness and you have judgment. So it's like, already know this, what is that to know? That's it. You're very fast, right? But because the child is new to the world, everything is new, especially a newborn, right? They just came in, I mean, the first thing is their eyes is not even open when they came out of the world. And the next thing is like somebody's probably spanked them, and then they're like, oh my God, it's right. And then they're struggling to like, okay, I just want to be, okay, now it's like bright and I need to be comfortable, and then I want to have food and all sorts of things. And then they start opening their eyes and looking, God, what's going on around here? You know, everything is so different now from that inside of the womb, where they probably don't even need to open their eyes. But after you leave from like what you say, as we grow older, right, we see more things, we experience more things. How do we keep that curiosity when the instinctive judge in us to assume, to I know better, I've done this before, kind of take over? How do we maintain our the explore power like the child?
That's a great question. And I would say I think self-awareness and discernment are very important. So it fulfills a function. Any bias, any kind of judgment in a way is the brain's shortcut to preserve energy. Because it takes actually some energy. Babies sleep a lot. Oh, they wake up a lot too. But exploration, it does take some brain power to really be open and explore and be curious. So when we are in that state, I wonder, if we relearn everything all the time, it would slow us down. So they're useful shortcuts, but being aware of not being driven by the shortcuts, but being able to determine what situation requires me actually to pause, slow down, and shift into that curiosity, as if I'm looking at the situation with new eyes, as if I saw the person the first time ever, and being that curious, that open, excited in a way too. It could be even in difficult situations, difficult conversations with an employee. Instead of saying, oh my God, this employee is just like, I don't know what to do with them, and thinking some judgmental thoughts about who they are, really being open and curious to discover what happened, what's happening for them, what is their situations that's creating this, let's say, underperformance or not showing up on time or whatever that is. That could be a place to actually slow down and implement that curiosity power and explore power. What would you say is another situation, or what comes up for you?
I love what you say. I was like, can you just make sure you summarize at least some of the part that you put in the comment? Lovely, because like what we so-called discuss is about that we have chosen the fast pace, the easy pace, the default pace of doing, right? Because we need to have an answer quickly. Let's just go in straight away. And it's about kind of discerning when we want to slow down, and probably knowing why you want to slow down, what is the benefit of slowing down, right? What do you want to slow down for? I mean, if I need to be quick, what do you want to slow down? So there is a benefit of slowing down. And I always say, most of us do something because there is a reason of doing it. Why do you want to do something for the sake of doing it? I mean, you got nothing better to do. You got, of course you want to do with agenda. You want to do because you have an expectation. Imagine you got no expectation. You got too free, nothing to do. So of course, from the child and the adult perspective, it's different because of, as a child, they don't have the responsibility. Adult, we have. But I think when we say why there's this saying, I thought this come to mind. Sometimes in life, in order to take the one step forward, we have to take one step back to move 2 steps forward. So the plus and minus, you get 1 step forward, because if you don't take the step back, you can't move forward at all. So curiosity, what come to mind is about when you're able to pause and you're able to stop, you're able to tap deep into the curiosity, you're able to see things what you cannot see. Yeah, especially when you come into conflicts, when you come into challenging tasks, how can you build on this rather than say, okay, I need to have this result? But it's about very result outcome oriented, and we forgot about that. When we come with that simple, deep, or maybe fascinated kind of curiosity, it generates a lot of power, energy, creativity in us. Yeah.
Yeah. And what comes up for me, by the way, I love that kind of what you've mentioned, that sometimes we need to take a step back in order to move forward, that otherwise we feel stuck. Anyway, the taking the step back is slowing down and really pausing or stopping in a way, instead of doing and rushing. And the scenario, now I lost my train of thought. My brain literally stopped. But with the personalities, kind of what to explore, it could be perhaps different personality styles, different preferences. They want to explore in different parts. So let's say the D personality, the dominant, or the eagle in the bird style. It usually explores the bigger pictures, the big picture, the strategy. And so when there is a problem, it could be pausing and exploring instead of going more again to exploring what's wrong with the bigger picture or what's wrong with these people that don't get the bigger picture. Could be, where is something that usually I don't see as much? It could be relationships with people. And going into exploring, I look at it as going with the flashlight in our mind on into the situations and looking into the corners that we usually don't look into to find something new. So it could be for the deep personality, looking at the relationship dynamics. Is there anything that I have noticed? How did the person feel? And being curious about that instead of just being curious about task and let's get this done. What comes up for you?
What comes up for me is not like because of personality, you have a preference of certain things. Like say the D preference is a big picture of tasks, right? So it's about, can I see things beyond the task? Can I see things beyond the big picture? And likewise for the other, the I is more people. Can I see beyond the people something else? Because you see, when in terms of tasks, you want to get a thing go ahead, you need the people. But the people will be kind of having challenges if their work is not going well. So it's all related and all have a interconnection. And when we are willing to kind of open up, it give us a different perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, and we can learn from each other. We can ask somebody else, what do you see, and learn from them. So let's say if we are great in the big picture, we can have somebody on our team that is excellent in the details. And kind of together put the whole picture together, both the details and the big picture, which are important. So that's why it's wonderful actually that we all have different personalities, different preferences, different styles, because together we can create something even much greater than just alone ourselves.
And something else is coming up for me as well. As I was, before the session, I was just talking through that when you do explore power, there was this thing talking about, we talk about using, how do we tap, so okay, how can we tap into this explore power? We know the difference between adult version explore versus a child version explore, and we know why. They both have its pros and cons, right? But the thing is, how can we better tap into it? What kind of we have 10 more minutes ago, how can we kind of give our people here some tips on how they can tap into this explore power, especially as an adult?
I love the question. So I would say, first, where does the judgmental questions usually come from? From the survival brain, and the brain that wants to get things done fast, that's stressed out, that could be not really taking the time to pause. So really, the first step is being self-aware and noticing whenever we are in the judgmental mode. And it could be also with noticing what kind of questions we ask people, be it people on our team, let's say. If a team member comes and we need to have a performance conversation, what kind of questions are we asking when something didn't go well? Are we asking, why did you do this? Why didn't you do that when I told you so? That question could be more perceived as judgmental, as actually has an impact on closing the other person down and defending themselves. Like, why did you do it? So anytime we start with question why, it could be looking, but I'm just curious, but actually it's more of a blaming question. So I think part of the awareness is noticing, what is our question? Is it really open-ended question? What happened? Describe me, what happened? What was missing? So sometimes questions with what are much better and more curious, in a way, open questions, rather than why did you do this, or why you didn't do this, or did you do that? Did you call that person as I told you so?
Yeah. I mean, as a coach, we learn the difference between the why and the what. I'm diverting a little bit. I remember there's one time where there was this get together. There was a coach who was quite new, and he asked, why is such an important thing? We want to know our why. Why did he say we don't ask the word why? And I think you have just clearly explained the reason. We still ask the why, but don't ask it in a direct, like, why do you do it? It's like, what makes you do it? So the reason, the using what to replace why is what have kind of a framing about moving forward. Why have a framing of spiraling down? So if somebody's asking you why, it sounds like judging. And if you're asking yourself why, there is a tendency of spiraling down to negativity, which is why what is always a better question to ask. What does it do? What makes me do it? What can I do to make it better? It's like, why do I do it? Why can't somebody else do it? So it sounds really judging. So, which is why when we have to be careful with the word why, not that it's not important, it's an important component because we want to know, but it's how we ask the questions. Of course, that can be learned. Another thing that came to my mind was modeling, using, especially if somebody that you really respect. And the question is, what would the person do in this situation? It kind of boring their brain and extending it.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. So really asking ourselves questions before we even ask somebody else a question. Really checking in with ourselves, pausing, noticing when we are in the judgment mode, maybe taking a deep breath or having a sip of water to calm down the survival brain, to calm down our nervous system, and then asking ourselves a question. What would this person do? I love that.
Anything else?
Could be different people in different situation even. Often people with compassion, kindness, they mention Mother Teresa. You don't have to, you can find your own role model for kindness, your own role model for courage. And whenever you need to tap into these emotions or modes of being in a way, you can ask yourself, who is my role model in kind of exhibiting this character, this strength, maybe courage? What would this person do in this situation?
Especially with these personality traits, right? If you do the assessment, they always give us example of who is a high D, who is a high I. They give you some well-known figure, and you can look back at that, in that situation, how would they be behaving? So ask a couple of questions around there, but choosing your own model is always very helpful, because you're like, oh yeah, that's what he would do. So why am I not doing it? Because that person inspires you. When you know the person will do that, you are more ready to open up and do something that you haven't thought about. So that's how intelligent our brain is, actually.
Yeah, and what comes up for me also, our brain is kind of wired to answer the questions and look for the answer when we ask a question. And I would say being mindful and aware of what kind of questions we ask and the impact that the questions have on us and others, to notice. Because sometimes we are also asking ourselves questions, and that can have an impact on our own mental and emotional well-being. I mean, let's say when I ask a question after something didn't go the way I wanted to, and I can ask myself, "Gosh, why am I such an idiot?" Right? It's a completely judgmental question. Is that going to help me feel better? Is that going to help me find actually solutions? What happened? Or is it going to make me probably feel upset, depressed with myself, and actually perform even worse moving forward? Because my brain can say, yeah, you're an idiot and you will never succeed and you will always mess up. Because the brain is finding the answers for the questions. So anybody who's watching, notice when you don't feel well, what kind of questions are you asking yourself? And what kind of questions could you ask yourself so that it would actually shift you towards solutions, towards feeling better, towards feeling curious, towards feeling happier? It could be a question for, what can I be grateful for right now? What is still good in the situation? How could I turn the situation into something better? And really being in that curious, open state, even with body language could be. When we are curious, we kind of lean back sometimes, or we can also be like this. It depends on the situation. Tell me more. Now I stop. What comes up for you from this?
Number one that come up for me was that when you are in the different state, your body actually change. It's like, oh, what's that going on? You kind of move forward. When you're like, oh, I can't bother. Yeah, you probably put a hand. Okay, I'm here. So when you kind of change your body movement, you feel different. So maybe you want to notice that. And another thing that came out was, we talk a lot about questions, how to ask questions. And this quote came to mind. Einstein said, if he's given 1 minute to solve a problem, what he's going to do is spend 59 seconds of his time with questions, different questions, and then just 1 second to answer the questions, because your question determines your answer.
Yeah.
So if you just have an answer, then that's it. You're not exploring. You have no more curiosity. But all the different questions and various questions that you ask is a way to move you forward. So the question is the power. Oh gosh, we got 1 more minute.
Wow.
And anything else you want to add on, Lucy, before we wrap up today's sessions?
I guess I can, finish with my traditional question, asking a question, being curious. So today I would love to invite all of us to pick a question, one question today that we can ask ourselves. It could be a question of, how am I feeling right now? And developing that self-awareness. Or it could be a question, what am I at the end of the day? Maybe that would be a question. At the end of the day today, before going to sleep, I invite all of us to ask a question. What are at least 5 things that I'm grateful for today, right now, and see what happens to your sleep or your mood at the moment. Being curious.
Be curious and just ask what's things that I'm grateful for today, and then go to sleep with that thoughts in mind and see what happened in the morning. I think that is a really lovely one. And with that, I just want to thank you for joining me here. If you have questions, please pop in there, and hopefully our little tips and suggestions is coming useful. Be curious, and be open and ask questions. And question is what make you move forward. It's not the answer. And we will see you next week with a different power.
Next week. Thank you so much for joining us.
Bye.